Hi, everybody. This is the DBC Community Show. I'll be your host, Michael, and we'll be speaking with the various members of the Dragonboat community that make Canada such a rich hub for the sport that we love. Today's episode is with Marcella Chung, a paddler that I have raced against for over a decade, but only really gotten to know peripherally. She is a founding member of New Dragons Racing Club, the 2019 Premier Division National Champions, but she's also a nurse, an athlete that punches far beyond her weight class, and most recently, a mother. I say all of this, yet I think what's most interesting is how she hasn't let any of those identities singularly define her or limit what she can accomplish in Dragonboat. So without further delay, I bring you Marcella Chung. Marcella Chung, thank you for joining me.
Oh, thanks for inviting me.
So at this point, I will have already introduced you, but let's start this conversation at the very beginning, because this is actually something I'm not 100% sure I know the answer to. How did you get your start in Dragonboat?
So when I was in high school, so I worked as a lifeguard and swim instructor, and one of my coworkers at that time, he paddled for Mayfair at the time, and so I was kind of introduced to that, and he would tell us about his paddling races and all that stuff, and then I was like, oh, that's kind of neat. And then so tried out a rec team in the summer, and I was like, oh, I kind of enjoy it. And then I went on to university, and then clubs fair and stuff, and then found out about New College, and then tried out for New College, and then now here I am. Yeah.
So
kind of how I got started.
So your first year on New College, when would that be?
Oh, 2007.
Okay. So yeah.
6-7. So it's, I don't know. Like 2007 was the summer I started racing, I guess, but 2006 is, I guess.
Is when you joined, yeah.
Is when I joined, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah. Okay. So if you started 2006, 2007, you've been paddling almost as long as I have. So that's we're going into our 14th season.
Oh my God. It sounds like a really long time. Makes me sound so old.
You've actually already alluded to the answer to my next question. I was going to ask if you were always somebody that was sporty, but you already said that you were a swim instructor, you were a lifeguard. Did you participate in any other sports?
I did a lot of stuff in university for intramurals. I did track in high school, but in intramurals it was just a bunch of you play basketball, you play volleyball, I don't know. I was in phys ed. That was my first degree. Okay. So I did a lot of stuff with phys ed. So it was lots of fun.
Okay, so sports has always been sort of a integral part to your daily life.
Yeah, my dad, I don't know, he really enjoyed sports. So then pretty much when we were young, we all me and my sister always played sports with him. So I think it was always part of us, I guess.
Okay. So yeah, the parental influence was there from the very beginning. Mm-hmm. And so you're gonna join New College in the 2006-2007 year. Later on, a certain guy with a defined job will join the team. Adrian, many people know him as a member of the Premier National Team. And a story that not a lot of people know is that you were the person that was assigned to him in a way to sort of mentor him as he joined the Dragonboat team. Is that correct? Did I get that right?
Yeah, so in New College, we started this thing where we were going to do a buddy system, because I think that was the year we had a really big, the team had a really big turnover, and all of my year that joined, we suddenly became the vets. So that was I guess only 1 year, and everyone else had left. And so we were oh, maybe in order to kind of facilitate a better group cohesion, we would try to do these buddy things where the vets would be buddied up with a new rookie at the time, and really try to help them through, and hopefully they'll be just in case it's hard because there's so many different practices and you might not see everyone, so they just want to make sure everyone felt involved. And they assigned me to Adrian because So I'm like, I guess like, typically like really friendly and bubbly, and Adrian at that time, he didn't go to any practices. Like no one knew who he was. I think it was just his timing didn't work out with a lot of the practices. So he never came out. So no one knew who he was at all. So they were like, okay, well, hopefully like, Marcella can kind of, bring him into this and like help him with a group cohesion kind of a thing. And so that's how I met Adrian.
Okay, so it was strategic. They did choose you because you had that bubbly personality. Like, okay, maybe she'll be better fitted to get Adrian to show up.
Yeah, well, kind of, and just I guess help him like be part of the team a bit more. I don't know.
And well, I mean, obviously it worked because he's also still part of the Dragonboat community. He's still paddling on a regular basis. How easily did that work? Did you have trouble getting him to listen, considering that I say this because like people who only know you guys from like, let's say the last few years, like you might not realize that you do have veteran status by 1 year, but you still have some kind of seniority over him. But he's tall and jacked, and you're small but also very jacked. But I wonder just like how that dynamic worked back then.
Oh well, we actually never still went to the same like gym practices because the timing just wasn't that great. But I don't know, like he's very easygoing. Like I don't know. I never had any issues with like if I suggested something, like he would never kind of be like, oh no, like I already know that or whatever. Like he was always like that with everyone. I think it was just more me kind of bringing I guess more of a person, like a socializing aspect. It wasn't really like trying to motivate him in the gym or like I don't know. All the other guys did that with him and stuff. Okay. Actually, I think one of the trainer girls, like she's not with us anymore, like paddling, but really kind of helped him in the gym at that time. But yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so your influence was first and foremost in just like keeping him involved as part of the circle of friends.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you don't mind me asking, how long between when you first meet him and when you guys will start the date? To date.
Oh, to date. Oh, I guess 2 years. Yeah. Well, when we first met, we were actually both dating someone else.
Okay.
And then, but we became really good friends, and then we're like best friends afterwards. And then I think it was our final year on New College, or my final year in New College. It's like 2010 when we got together. So, and I met him the fall. So I had met him in 2007, 2008 season.
Okay, so yeah, approximately 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And so that means that you guys have been paddling together as a couple for at least 10-ish years.
Yeah.
First of all, very impressive, and congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
And I think a question that I would like to ask, and that can serve maybe as advice for anybody else in the same scenario. What are the difficulties? How did you manage being a couple in Dragonboat? Ava's really interested in you.
I know. Really wants to touch my nose. Okay, Ava. Actually, I thought it was, well, luckily, like we both really enjoyed paddling, and like we had a really big passion for it. And I think that made it really easy because, you're on the water so much, or like you're in the gym so much. And then like, you just spend so much time with your team that sometimes it'd be hard if your significant other isn't also doing the same thing. Because like for my team, like on top of like practices and like stuff, we like really like to hang out together. And so, like if my significant other was not part of the team, it'd be like, oh wait, I also have, like, it's hard. They're just like, you only have so much time,
Right.
especially in the summer, right? When you're going out and competing and all that stuff. And so luckily for us, it really worked out that way. And I guess a lot of our teammates are also, there's a lot of couples on our team.
Yeah.
And that kind of helps too, because we're all just kind of like chilling together all the time, pretty much.
Right. So like you don't need to manage two separate social circles.
Yeah, like you don't feel bad like that you're neglecting your significant other because you're chilling with them at the same time in a way, which is kind of nice. Well, it worked out for us. I don't know if that's for everyone.
I 100% agree that for the people who are involved at the competitive level as deeply as somebody like you or I, if my significant other wasn't part of Dragonboat also, like it'd be such a big stress. It'd be too complicated. On the flip side, I can only imagine, as all couples do, that things are not always perfect, but then you'd still have to show up to practice at the same time. Do you have any tips for how to navigate that kind of scenario?
I don't know if that's happened usually.
I mean, if it hasn't, then I mean, I'm just congratulations again because that's
no, I mean, like obviously we have our disagreements that usually they don't go for that long, or I don't know.
Okay, they've never lasted so long that like.
I don't know. No, we do have disagreements. It's just we like talk them out pretty quickly usually.
Exactly. It never gets to the point of you're always able to sort of figure it out before it gets to the point that like practice gets awkward or anything like that.
Yeah.
That is definitely
like luckily that works.
Part of the solution as to why you guys have been able to do this for so long. I have no doubt about that.
Okay.
So you're gonna be part of New College, and for people who might not be aware, New College is, as far as I'm aware of, definitely the first truly strong U24 club in Canada before even the concept of a U24 category even existed. And I remember back then knowing about you guys, but not knowing anybody on the team on a personal level, but knowing about you guys and how you guys were like far ahead of all the other university teams at the time. And then you guys will go to Club Cruise in Macau, and you're gonna meet a team that will finally actually challenge you guys, SAFSA, the Singapore Armed Forces. Is that right?
Yes, we did compete against them. Yeah.
How was the what are your memories of that time of meeting a team that of racing internationally first and meeting a team that could actually challenge you guys?
Well, yeah, it was pretty exciting because like that was our first time, and like we were all just kids back then, and then Macau was pretty, like I remember Macau being pretty cool because I think it was also a very well run competition as well. There was other university teams that were close to us that one, but I don't remember. Like Vic came, right? I think they were pretty close to us too, but like and the SAFSA was pretty. Oh, and PDBC was there too, I think. Yeah. So they're still pretty close to us, but like SAFSA was like we're used to competing against them, so like meeting SAFSA was kind of neat because it was like we've never raced you guys before, and like. I think they're mostly guys. They're all guys, right? I think they were all guys. And then I remember like everyone, like all the guys were like, oh my God, they're so jacked because they're all like, supposedly in the military. So that was like our first thought of them when we saw them. So that was pretty funny. And then the racing against them was really fun. And like, but they all got to, it was like a very good and mutual respect afterwards, and like they really liked our girls afterwards. Always wanted to take photos with our girls after. So I don't know. I don't really. I just remember it being a good time. Like it was just like a new exposure, and like just got to see like how international events were like at the time.
No, I mean, everybody I know like usually has very good memories of their first international race, even if objectively when you think back to it, like the racing might have been.
Yeah, I don't remember most of it, but I just remember it being a really good time.
Exactly, that it really like opens your eyes to like, oh, Dragonboat is like way more than just like what happens at Toronto Island. Like it's there's all this other world that's doing it, and I guess it whets the appetite. And I mean, it certainly I assume it did for you, because you guys will come back and win a gold medal in Hong Kong.
Oh yes.
What was that?
That was I like when you were bringing it up. Sometimes I don't remember, but I was like, it also seemed like a long time ago. But that was, I think Hong Kong was like a.
Hong Kong is 2012. So that's 9 years ago.
I remember that was a pretty hard. That was pretty hard because the waves are really bad. Yeah. I think that was the year, the Victoria Harbour year. Mm-hmm. Yes, I remember that year. That was rough. So I think it was. There were a lot of surprises, and I think we just really focused on our game plan and actually executed what we're supposed to do. I think it was just the waves are just everywhere, and I think it took a lot of people by surprise as well. I remember like us navigating through the 2K was a disaster as well, but we had Simon back then, who is an amazing steers person, and he got us into bronze, which we would have never expected. But yeah, that was a very interesting competition, but like very memorable. But it was just like, I just remember waves everywhere.
Yeah.
Sinking, not ships, but like boats sinking. It was just like, I remember that was crazy.
Hong Kong was completely ridiculous. And in terms of like, it's hard. Sometimes it's almost hard to appreciate the racing because the racing was so skewed by the amount of waves. But at the same time, like it's hard not to remember anything about Hong Kong because it was so unique. Like the backdrop of having Hong Kong Island back, and the like 8 lanes of racing at a time, and the waves making every race sort of like a bit of a nail biter, because you weren't even 100% sure you were going to make it to the finish line.
I know, like it really was like, if you didn't execute your game plan, you had no chance. You know what I mean? Like it was like you had like if you didn't race a good race, it was really hard. But like even if you raced a good race, it's like you don't really know, but you had to like race your best race in order to kind of, which I guess is the main thing. It's just like, as long as you raced a good race and like that was the best, and it's just like at Victoria Harbour, you just kind of hope for.
I mean, so first of all, like that, congratulations to like what and like as we zoom through the years, like congratulations to everything that New College has accomplished, New College, and which will evolve into NDRC. One question I would like to ask you about is like as far as I can recall, and you can correct me if I'm forgetting some names. So you'll be at the beginning, New College was coached by Donald. Later on with NDRC, there'll be Conrad. Most recently, Gavin, and these days it's actually mostly coached by Danny, Ben, and Wendy. Which is a bit of a departure compared to what many other teams are used to, because usually like the coach is sort of, in a sense, a separate entity from the paddlers. Now, Wendy and especially Danny and Ben are also active paddlers at the same time as being coaches. So these are people that in a sense are more your peers instead of like an authority that's above you coaching. Have you noticed any any difficulties, or just like how is it different to be coached by a peer versus being coached by a coach, as a singular coach, to say, like, how's that vibe different?
So like, yeah, like you said, I guess NDRC was majority of our time was coached by Gavin.
Okay.
So like, as you guys know, he's like years of experience in like flat water, and like he competed in Olympics. So obviously he brings like, world stage experiences, right? That no one else, like any of our coaches would have brought to us. And then so he had, I don't remember what year, but he actually moved to Vancouver. But he still played a really active role in coaching us, again, coaching our Dragonboat program. During that time, like Ben, Danny, and Wendy stepped up, and they did a really good job in leading and coaching us on the water and on land when Gavin wasn't physically here. So I think, and then from there, it's like you can see they're pretty exceptional coaches, and paddlers themselves, because they like you said, they're also paddlers. They were athletes in like the national team program, and now Ben and Danny are coaches on a national premier program. Sorry? And Randy is a program director. So I mean, I think I know you say it's peers, but I know it's kind of hard because they kind of like did a.
Yeah, like you can't exactly pinpoint an exact moment, but they slowly transition into something else without nobody really realizing it.
Yeah, so I mean, there was like in terms of technique, they're about the same, because they're still coaching the same stroke, and we've never really changed their stroke, like with Gavin versus versus Ben and Danny and Wendy. I guess like the main thing is just Gavin definitely adds like a dimension, like another dimension with his flat water and Olympic racing experiences. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so I guess the transition was slow and smooth enough that like by the time that they took over completely, it didn't really bother anybody anymore.
Like, yeah, because they're national team coaches as well, so it's like hard to like I thought it was like, I don't know, like the difference would be like Gavin is Gavin, and then but then obviously Ben and Danny and Wendy can't compete with his like Olympic and flat water experiences. But I think that would probably be like the main, like that, like Gavin has all this other experience, but in terms of like technique, it's like they're teaching the same thing. So I think it's, in that sense, it was the same. Yeah.
The transition the transition was not didn't feel abrupt in any kind of way.
Yeah, no, I guess not. No.
All right.
And like Gavin was back Gavin was back for our competitions in the summer. Yeah.
So it always felt like he was there in the background to no matter what happened with the three coaches that were with you guys on a daily basis.
Yeah, I mean, they all worked together, so, and they were a great team. So yeah.
Let's move on to another subject, and this is this one I'm particularly interested because as you know, I coach a U24 team in Montreal. My U24 team is also mostly Asians, and if we play into the stereotype, which is becoming less and less true, but Asian girls tend to be short. And Marcella, for people who don't know, I mean, your Instagram handle refers to it. You are quite short yourself. Have you ever felt that your size was a hindrance, or did you ever feel like anybody discriminated against your athletic abilities because you were simply short?
I wouldn't say discriminated, but obviously there's like on a boat, like if you need balance, you need someone to balance me out if you ever put me in a boat. And coaches have been quite honest with that, right? Like it's like I'm heavier now, but like I was like 110, and then some, like it's hard to balance me if you have more like I'm right side paddler, if you have like heavier heavier because I'm really light. Left side girls, right? And so sometimes it is more a matter of trying to balance the boat. But I mean, I've never felt discriminated. Like they weren't like, oh, you're too tiny, so you won't be able to do this, or like I don't think obviously I can't fit in the engine room because like I personally like my legs can't fit, right? So I mean that's the only like it's like physically I can't be in certain positions, but like but I really like other than that I really enjoy the challenge, and my teammates have always been supportive, and no one's really kind of been like, oh, you're small, so maybe you shouldn't do that, or like they've never been like, oh, like I guess you should put in a lighter weight, or like no one's really kind of, I don't know, I guess been discriminatory. But I did find like trying to be on the erg, obviously it was a bit more challenging because I'm a lot lighter, but then it's just extra challenging and like more exciting to train harder. And then my best friend's always like training with me and stuff, and during that time, so it was pretty neat and trying to like catch up in a way. And like there's another paddler, Dawn Lee, who's tiny like myself, and she was on the national team, so then obviously I would ask for her advice, and she was great and giving me lots of advice to like how to I guess use my weight and how to use it to my advantage and all that stuff. So I mean obviously there's challenges being small, but I mean you just kind of try to work around it, and it's exciting always to have a challenge.
I find it refreshing to hear that kind of perspective, because I've unfortunately had to deal with some experiences where athletes will use their size as a crutch. Like they'll almost like before anybody gives them any judgment, they'll already sort of like shoot themselves down because like, well, what's the point? I can't do this because I'm too short. And whereas you almost like take it on as a challenge, like, well, I can't do anything about my size, but I can just work harder and train harder than everybody else. And,
like it's more exciting if you can do the same stuff, or like you can be better. You know what I mean? Like it's like I don't know. I enjoy that challenge. I've always been tiny, so it's always been like it's not just
it's not as if you used to be tall and then like suddenly somebody chopped your legs off.
So, like every size has their disadvantages, right? So like no one's, well, there's always the perfect body type for a certain sport, but not everyone has that. So everyone always has something to work on. So it's not just tiny people.
and I find it great to hear that like nobody's ever that you had positive experiences and you've never been pigeonholed, and like you simply because of your size, and indeed like you've for people who don't know about your gym prowess, like you definitely did more than enough to make up for your size. So
not anymore, but maybe.
Well, I mean, there's a good reason for that, and we'll get to that when the time comes. but yeah, no, it's very good to hear. Now, let's we'll again change the subject a little bit and move on to another angle of your life. Now, if I recall correctly, you are currently working. Well, not currently. You are also trained as a nurse. Is that correct?
Yes.
And I mean, at least all of my nursing friends have to deal with shift work.
Yes.
And shift work doesn't usually work too well with scheduled practices. So I'm curious, how did you figure out a way of solving through all of that?
Well, we had 3 practices a week, typically, and I would typically miss at least, like, because obviously our schedule changes all the time, so I would for sure miss 1. Sometimes I'll miss 2, but I mean it is what it is, and on your off days you just try to make up for it for like a longer gym session. When I was younger, like so Pearl, so we used to work together, and we paddle on the same team, and after a 12-hour shift sometimes we would just go to the gym and then do quick session, and then just to kind of at least like get something in. But then we didn't do that after. What? Oh yes, we did do that. Oh yes, sometimes. So our work ends. So by the time our work ends, and by the time we travel down, we would miss half of practice. And so when it got closer to, like in the beginning, when it's I guess the spring paddling, I guess, we would just try to make up for our sessions. But as it got closer to like race days and like, competitions, and we really, need that practice together on the water. So we would run to the race course, from like park our cars down and run to the race course in order to just kind of get like even like half hour of practice times. Because I guess the main thing is like, blending and being all together in a boat. And so we would do that. I guess that was how we tried to make it up. So at least we're there for half the practice, or even like half hour of practice. And then if we had a night shift, sometimes I would just go like do the night shift. And like, if I didn't have a really terrible night shift, then take a power nap, and then like at work or in the car, and then just do the practice, like the 8 a.m. practice, or 9 a.m. practice in the morning. And then just let my body just, I was like, my mind would just not be here, but like my body's moving. So
I find it, I mean, it's probably like proof that, sorry, let me find the right words. I'm not surprised that that NDRC has the success it has when you have members who are willing to go through a trouble of parking and then jogging to catch up to the Dragonboat just to get half hour worth of practice. Like that kind of dedication to the sport like is the kind of thing that makes a team very, very good. I'm sure we all know people who, like, if I'm going to be late by 20 minutes, I might as well just like not show up to practice, and then next thing you know, they skip the whole thing. So the fact that you were willing to do all of that is really very impressive. So again, like I'm just very I'll be blunt. I'm in awe of what you put yourself through to continue being part of the team. But again, like it's not surprising that it leads to the results that you guys have.
Thanks. Hopefully, I'm glad it worked out.
Well, I certainly believe it did. Actually, case in point, I'm thinking of what is it? And the NDRC women in Regina got overall bronze, if I'm correct. Is that right?
Yes.
Bronze or silver?
We overall got bronze.
Bronze. Okay.
You're testing me. We did really well in our 2K, but I think overall we got bronze. Now I can't remember anymore. Oh my god.
And you guys did very well. You podiumed.
Yes, we did really well. Yes.
And one thing I did not know, but as I was looking through some old results, is that when NDRC was first formed in 2011, NDRC women also existed back then, but didn't even make it into the A final of the nationals back then.
No, we were. We somehow, that was our first year. We weren't, let's just say we were athletic, but we weren't like really together yet. Like we were just trying to form, I guess we had just formed this women's team, and when we qualified, and then we I don't even remember now. What were we doing? We had used, we were a mix of New College girls and NDRC women, I think, at the time. And it was interesting because we didn't have too many practices together. I think we tried, but then I think at that time our strokes are slightly different, so it was always trying to match our strokes together. But yeah, that was a nice, like, it was an interesting, like, I guess, evolution of NDRC women.
No, for sure. To go from barely qualifying back in 2011 to winning 3 bronzes in Szeged and continuing that kind of success into 2019 in Regina. Now, one rumor I heard, and you can certainly help me confirm this, in Regina, I can't recall, is it you or Steph who was racing while pregnant?
I was.
You were racing while pregnant. And
she did it, right? Okay. She raced a little bit, but I don't think, because Steph she was 2-3 months pregnant, like ahead of me in a way. So she was like more pregnant.
okay.
So we didn't want her racing as much, but I think she did race like a few races.
Okay.
But not as much, because just in case, I guess. And she was bigger.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. So both of you raced pregnant in Regina.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. And
I think some other paddlers do that. I don't know.
really?
I'm pretty sure they do. Yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty sure they do. I mean, it's really hard. I don't know how some of them do it, but like, I thought it was really hard.
I mean, I'll be perfectly honest. You two are the first examples I know of who have raced at nationals while pregnant. I know of a few other girls who have continued practicing while pregnant, but they wouldn't go to races or anything like that. So to hear that both of you not only raced, but raced at the highest level that the country has to offer, and still did very well, I find like, how did the decision come about to have both of you race? Were there not enough women, or did you two insist on continuing to race? How did it get to that point?
I think like during practices, like we just kind of kept going, and I mean, I was only 4 or 5 months pregnant by the time it was Regina, so I guess like technically it would have been okay anyways. And well, I didn't necessarily feel all okay, but I mean, like I obviously still wanted to race, and at times I was still capable of racing. It was interesting because my first trimester, like the first 3 months, I was actually very motion sick. Like I had a lot of motion sickness.
Okay.
Like,
so being in the
when I was on the water, if we weren't moving, I was like, I wanted to throw up.
Oh God.
So that was interesting because I wasn't like, you're supposedly your first 3 months, you don't tell anyone yet or whatever. And
right.
then, so there was one practice where it was really wavy, and then I was so nauseated. And then at the end of practice, as I was stepping out, I kind of passed out. And then Adrian had to like carry me to the change room, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, what happened?" And I'm like, I knew because I was so like, motion sick. And then I was like, "Oh, low blood sugar." I'm like, I didn't eat enough, and I was like, "Oh, don't worry, I'm okay now." But I was like, it was, yeah, definitely. It was so terrible that, but then it got better by Regina. Like it was much better by then.
Right. You had cleared the first trimester, and your body sort of got used to itself, and
it was much better. No, I don't know if you know her, but she doesn't paddle anymore. But Vicky, she had paddled internationally while pregnant, so she used to paddle for Mayfair and then the Lotus Slipstream. So that's why me and Steph were like, "Oh, we could do this."
Okay. Okay. If she's done it, then like, why can't
I mean, like, we're like, we could kind of do this because she's done it, like she's amazing. And so I was like, okay, if we can do a little bit, she did international, we can kind of do nationals a little bit, I was like, but I did, I sat out the 2K races. So like I was huffing and puffing, and I didn't think I was up to par to stroke.
Right.
a 2K, so I sat out all the 2K races. Yeah, there's no way I wouldn't have made it.
But
I don't. Some women probably can't. Like some of the moms probably could have. I don't know how they do it, but
I find that you mentioning Vicky and having Steph alongside of you during this whole time, I think it sort of it puts a finger on the whole, like NDRC has a great, it has a unique culture where, like, on other teams, if you were pregnant and wanting to paddle, like, people might be very defensive about that and like try to persuade you not to. But here you are on a boat where you're like, well, she did it, so like, if anything,
well, we were hoping that we could, because she could, but I mean, like, we knew she was amazing. That's why we're like, okay, so maybe we could, do some of it.
No, but it's great. It's like having, that's the kind of environment that encourages you to want to continue being active and still being part of everything. So no, I think I don't think there's anything magical about why this particular group creates a lot of very good athletes and very good dragon boaters, because you have that kind of it's a group of people that share that value of being together and training hard and being fit and everything that goes along with that.
It's definitely nice to have Steph alongside. At least we were like two pregnant women trying their best.
Yeah, so exactly. At least you didn't feel alone, like, going through all of that. We're coming towards the end, and my next question has we're going back through the whole idea, like, that you've been on the team for a long time, and through this all, like, at various moments I could have rattled off a list of names that I would have called, like, the core of NDRC, but over that time there's quite a few people who have stopped paddling, or I'm thinking, like, Benson and Stefano and Derek and Omar, and, like, Simon used to be a part of the team, now he's over in Montreal. I could continue on, and so these are all people that I, as far as I can tell, were part of a core that you were also part of. And as I can easily imagine how on other teams, as the people that you're most connected to slowly leave the sport, then it makes it harder for you to want to continue being part of it, and then you would slowly bleed away too. But here you are still completely in it. Oh, hey, Baymax. And so I guess my question is,
that wasn't Hero.
Oh, that was Hero. Sorry, my bad. And so I guess my question is simply, like, with this turnover of some of your closer friends in the sport, what keeps you still motivated and interested to be part of it?
I guess there's still, like, a big group that's still left in a way. I can see what you mean, but I'm like, oh yeah, but I was like, oh, but there's still a lot of people left, so maybe it's not as but I mean, they're like, I would say, like, the new people, as, like, slowly people kind of go out, there's, like, new people that come in, and then it forms, like, almost like a new core, because, like, they're very, I guess it just so happens that, they become they're, like, similar, maybe the same values, or maybe we just happen to attract people that are similar to us in a way, and they kind of become the new core, and it's always like this same, and it ends up being like a huge big family. I mean, sometimes, like, well, not anymore, I kind of miss that, but, like, before, like, if we had, like, big gatherings, like, the old vets used to come back, like, and it's really nice because, like, they still hang out, like, we all still hang out together, well, before COVID.
Right.
And so, I mean, and they're very much still, like, involved in terms of, like knowing what's going on, and, like, they kind of keep up to date, and they still, like, cheer us on, during races and stuff. So, I mean, even though they're not, like, actually physically paddling, they're still with us in that sense. So maybe that's probably why I never really noticed it in terms of like not being able to paddle kind of with people that were originally, I guess, there. But
Yeah, as I was building this question, I realized like,
not
how to say, like I can't really call it as like before you paddle with your friends and now you don't anymore, because you still like, even now, like I could definitely easily rattle off a list of names that I would call the current NDRC core. I think that you had a good point when you said that, like as people moved on onto other things, like there would be new paddlers that would come in and that would and because probably of those shared values, they easily like sort of fit right back in and quickly become new good friends that like it's rather like the core is just continuing to grow, but
yeah,
only some of them
like because like
paddle.
no one really like leaves, I guess. I mean, like we don't see them in practices, but we still see them like, you know, at gatherings and stuff. So that's why it's like it, yeah, like you said, like feel like just the core just kind of grows bigger, and so I don't really feel like an empty space of people when they have to, you know, not paddle anymore, or
Right.
you know.
Yeah, there's never that sensation of like I don't recognize this team anymore, I'm sort of out of place. because I've known other people who have felt that like over time, as the people they were closest to leave, then they're like, well, there's nothing that keeps me attached to this team anymore, I'll move on to something else. But in your case, in at least in the case of NDRC, like this never really comes up. And I'll tie this back to something that Wendy mentioned. I had asked her what was the big difference that she felt when she went from 22 Dragons to NDRC, and she said that one thing that she really appreciates about NDRC is that sensation that on NDRC, like it really does feel like a big family. That the group is very tied in together on a social level. So I think this is just another way of pointing out that same thing, that group, that the social aspect of NDRC is particularly strong.
I mean, it's definitely hard with COVID because you don't actually see anyone anymore. So to be honest, I don't. There are some people I don't know. I mean, I've never met them.
I'll be completely honest. We're having like, this is not unique to you guys. Like every club is having this kind of trouble where maintaining that attachment is more difficult because of the fact that we can't really interact with each other besides like Facebook and WhatsApp or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's wrap this up. I don't know if I've ever said this really out loud to anybody on the NDRC, so Adrian and you can be the first ones. But like New College was without a doubt like a big part of influencing me into wanting to do the things that I do here at 22 Dragons, because when I was starting off my paddling, I remember thinking that it always came down to either I paddle with people that are my age, but we suck, or I paddle with people that are older than me and like significantly older than me, but at least we'll be good. And I decided to go on that second route to really challenge myself. But I always did feel like it was unfortunate that I don't get to paddle with people that are my age and still like be fast. So when I found out about you guys back in like that 2007 to 2010 period, it really made me go like, well, if it can happen in Toronto, why can't it happen in Montreal? I've got to be able to make something happen. So like without a doubt, New College from that era like inspired me to decide like, okay, I have to try building a strong U24 team in Montreal, because I mean, Toronto sure is bigger, but it's not that much bigger. There's no reason why I can't make something like this happen in Montreal. So I guess like that whole rant is just to say, like, first of all, thank you for being part of that team and being part of I feel the strongest influence in terms of why Canada is any good in U24s is because it started off with you guys.
Oh, thanks. Well, Ben was a coach for our new college for a while, actually. Well, he still is, I think, now.
Yeah, I believe so.
But he had coached us after, actually, because you mentioned Dawn, and then it was Ben coached us.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, he really changed us, I would say, too. Before then we all decided to be NDRC after, but and he still coached like after. So he had coached us like when his peers were on the team, and then when we all created NDRC, then he continued to teach or continue to coach New College.
Yeah. Did Ben always have a?
Because he coached us in Macau. Yeah, he actually he coached us in Macau. That was his first year coaching.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm like, Adrian just reminded me. I'm not good with but yeah, he was the one who coached us, and yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So I mean, next time you see him, extend my thoughts and my gratitude towards him. But yeah, on that note, thank you for sharing your time with me and sharing your stories with the rest of the Dragonboat community.
Oh, thanks for having me.